Hey guys, I'm gonna try to hurry up while I'm at this red light. But something that I forgot to mention, which I really wanted to mention in the video, but I forgot. I wanted to say, it doesn't matter how far along you were when you miscarried. I don't care if you were 1 day pregnant, 5 months pregnant, it doesn't matter. Pregnancy loss is pregnancy loss. Miscarriage is a miscarriage. So don't let anyone, or don't you feel guilty for being upset or sad about something. If you didn't miscarry way long in your pregnancy, it doesn't matter. You have every right to feel how you feel, and I'm sorry. But yes, I love you. I just wanted to say that. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, Arne. Hey, hi. There. So as you can tell by the title, today we're gonna get a little deep. I do want to say, well, hold on, my hair, yes, it's a little frizzy, don't mind her. My makeup, it's just one of them days, but yeah, I do want to put a trigger warning out there. This is going to be detailed, so yeah, so just, we're talking about something intense today. I'm just going to get straight into it because I don't know how else to do it. So just sit back. This is my miscarriage story, and I'm also going to talk about like pregnancy after loss and like how I cope with it every day, and just some tips for you, or just what helps me get through it every day. But okay, and it's one of those days where, you know, like when you do your makeup and then your eyes keep watering. So it's already one of them type of deals going on. I'm going to try to hold in my tears because I literally already scraped my under eyes off and redid it. So bear with me. So let's get into it. I'm filming this video because miscarriage is so common, okay? It's one of those things where it's like you've heard about it, but you never really think like, oh, that's gonna happen to me type thing. Like just being honest, like anything that's like tragic that happens, you're like, I never would have thought that would have happened to me, or that I would have had to experience this. And I've always wanted to be a mom, like since I was little. Like I've always seen myself as a mom, and the thought of miscarriage never like really crossed my mind. Like I would see stories and like hear women talk about, you know, like they suffered a miscarriage or they had a miscarriage, but I never really like sat there and thought like, what would it be like to be pregnant and then lose the baby? You know what I mean? So I'm just putting that out there. It's extremely common, and if you are watching this, you either had a miscarriage, going through a miscarriage, pregnant after miscarriage, something like that, or you're just interested in hearing my story. And I'm already emotional. I don't even like get started. And it's not like I really get emotional. Like, yes, when I think about like my own situation, like I get, you know, sad. It's a whole grieving process, but to know like how painful it was for me to know that like someone else had to experience that, like it just makes me feel so bad. And I just want to say, if you are going through it, just know there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Like your rainbow's coming. There's always a rainbow after the storm. And I just want to encourage you, like I'm filming this video for those who are going through it in particular, just so you know, like it's okay. It's okay. Okay, okay, let me get started. So, as you know, if you don't know already, I am currently pregnant with my rainbow baby. So if you don't know what a rainbow baby is your baby that you get after loss. So whether it was like miscarriage, stillborn, any type of loss, your next baby is your rainbow baby. And it's funny because some people didn't know what that was, like, and I was like, yeah, oh, that's your rainbow baby. Anywho, let me not get on tangents. Let's see. I started to write down notes and everything, but I was like, no, we're just gonna go straight from the dome. So, if you saw my video where I found out I'm pregnant, you will know that I had a miscarriage. So, this was last summer. I found out I was pregnant last June 2021, and it's funny because I'm due June 2022. You see how God works? Okay. Last June I found out I was pregnant. I'm just gonna fast forward to my first doctor's appointment. Or no, my first ultrasound. So I had my first ultrasound, and I went in. I was so excited. Me and Quan, like, we went in. We were so excited, and I remember that morning I was like looking at videos on YouTube of people in their first ultrasound appointments. I was just excited, like, oh my gosh, like, that's gonna be amazing, like seeing the baby on the screen for the first time. Like, I was just like prepping for all that. Now, I do remember I kept saying, like, I just want to make sure everything's fine. I want to see the heartbeat. I was like confident and, you know, that everything was fine. But I still wanted to like be humble and be like, okay, like, I just want to pray to God and just make sure everything's fine. I'll be able to, because our parents already knew at this time, but I wanted to tell my best friends, and I was like, I'm not going to tell them until I see the heartbeat on the screen. Like, I just was like, you know, like excited and prepping and all that stuff. So we went in, and I remember, like, you know, she pulled out the, a lot of the times your first ultrasound, they do transvaginal, just because sometimes a lot of people go really early to their first ultrasound appointments. And when I say really early, I'm talking like between 5 and 7 weeks. Now, I technically, at that time, I was 8 weeks. I was already tracking a girl, but I was 8 weeks pregnant, and I went in, and she pulled out the Doppler, or the little, like, you know, like the ultrasound thingy with the gel, and she put it on my belly. But I guess she wasn't like really seeing much, so she was like, okay, so let's do the transvaginal one. It's like a probe, I think it's called, and they like stick it in. And she was like looking around or whatever, like vaginally, and she was showing me like my ovaries, like the cervix, like she was checking all that stuff. And the main thing they want to check for with your first ultrasound is to make sure you're not having like an ectopic pregnancy, which means where the baby implanted like in your fallopian tubes or something like that. Google it. I think that's what it is, but anyhow, so she like put it in, and she showed me immediately her like, now, okay, so the doctor is not the same as the sonogram tech. I mean, your doctor may be a sonogram tech, but at my doctor's office, I have my OB, and then there's different people who do the sonograms. They're not my doctor. But I just felt her like, I just knew something was like a little up. So she immediately just kept asking questions like, so are you sure you're 8 weeks? Are you sure when your last period was? Do you know when you conceived it? And I'm like, what you mean I'm not sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Like, yes. And immediately I was just like, oh gosh, like what is going, like, is this really happening right now? So then she was like, I think you may be earlier than what you thought, which is common. In my head, I'm like, okay, I know that's a possibility, but that would be weird because I literally track and write down everything. Anyhow, so she started to say, and if you saw it in the pregnancy announcement video, she said to me, she was like, I see it, she was like, okay, so I see the sac. No, she was like, I'm not seeing much development. And when she said that, I'm like, are you serious? Like, I felt like, literally like my whole world was like coming down, crumbling. Because at this point, I'm already so excited. I built a bond with the baby, like, you know. So she was like, I see the gestational sac, and then she goes, inside the gestational sac is the yolk sac, and then she goes, attached to the yolk sac, you should see the embryo. And she was like, but I'm not really seeing much development from the embryo. I just really see the yolk sac and the gestational sac. So I'm like, okay. So then she like takes it out or whatever, and she's like, okay, so I'm gonna let your doctor know everything that I see, and she'll probably have you come back in 2 weeks to see if there's been more progress. So I'm like, okay. I'm already crying, losing it. Quan's trying to like keep me together, you know. And I'm just like, dang, like, this is not what I expected. Like, I expected to walk out with my little pictures and be like, you know. And so, but that didn't happen. So you know, we told our family or whatever, like, what was going on. And they immediately was like, it's okay. It's common, like, you may be just earlier than you thought you were, or yada, yada, yada. I'm like, okay. And then I'm a person of prayer. Like, I'm a believer. And that's what I do want to say is my faith is literally, getting emotional, but is literally how I got through this. No, that's what it is. And so immediately I'm like, I reminded myself, like, only God has the answer. So yes, I was a mess that day, but I got myself together. Like, no. Now, I do want to say, when I did get home, I started watching like lots of YouTube videos, and just, I wanted to see other people's stories, like, not able to see I would type in like, not seeing baby at the first ultrasound, but then I would see like, they would see it at the next one. I was just trying to, like, you know, then I started like Googling things, and I saw that it could be a blighted ovum or something like that. Like, I was just like, okay, let me get off Google. It was a few hours I was on the internet. I was like, okay, let me get off, let me get some food, let me watch a show and get my mind right. Of course, in between that, I'm like praying, I'm like talking, I'm like, God, like, please, like, I trust you, but at the same time, please let this be, like, you know. And so that night, okay, me and my boyfriend, we've had our baby name like picked out way before I ever got pregnant. And so that night before I went to bed, I was watching Instagram stories, and a particular influencer, like, you know how like if someone tags you in something, you can repost it on your story. So an influencer that I watch on YouTube and everything, she had reposted what someone tagged her in. And normally I'm just clicking through. However, it's like something in me, which Holy Spirit, like, led me back to the, like, I was like pressing through, but then I was like, let me go back. And I actually clicked the person's profile who tagged her in, you know what I mean? And so I don't normally ever do that, but I clicked her page, and she just had a baby, and her baby's name was the same name that Quan and I like chose. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, thank you, God, like, giving me these signs, like, thank you for showing me, like, okay, like, cool. Like, that gave me so much confidence, and just like, it just helped me out a lot, like, being able to see that, because I'm like, it's not a common name. And then also it's like, oh, another thing, when we told his parents, his mom, like, a week later already started sending me like ideas for like baby shower. And the baby shower thing that we had chose, that was the girls on Instagram, that was her theme. So it was the same baby name and the same theme. I was like, Lord, you are amazing. Thank you, Jesus. That's all I needed to know. Thank you. Good night. So I was good. Of course, every day, like, the thoughts and the fear would creep into my head, and I'm like, nope, God, I listen to God. So those 2 weeks go by, and I remember the day before, I was like, okay, you know, tomorrow's the day, like, we're gonna see that it's developed and everything's gonna be good. And of course, I was still prepping for either decision, but still holding on to the hope that, like, everything was fine. Because mind you guys, my belly was still growing. Like, my uterus was still growing. Now, by the way, when I went to the first ultrasound appointment, the doctor was telling me, because I was like 8 weeks by like calendar based on my last period, but the sac, the gestational sac, was measuring as if I was like 5 weeks. So I was like, dang, like, I'm 3 weeks off. But so keep that in mind. So 2 weeks go by, and I go in for my is my nose running? Sorry. ultrasounded. And I go in for this second appointment, okay? Same ultrasound tech lady. And I'm already like crying because I was like scared or whatever. And she's like, I know, we're gonna find out right now, da 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 da. So she did it transvaginally, and she did the transvaginal. And it was like, she was like, okay, so I do see that the gestational sac got bigger. The gestational sac grew from 5 weeks to like 7 weeks. Mind you, I should have been like 10 weeks. I would have been 10 weeks at this time. So she was like, okay, so I do see that the gestational sac grew. She goes, I see the yolk sac, I see the amniotic sac formed. She was like, but I'm still not seeing much development. Now, when she said that, I was like, yeah, this is it. Like, I'm literally about to go through what I never would have thought that I'm going to go through. So, she was like, I'm gonna let the doctor know everything, and then she will call you. So I was like, okay. I was just a wreck. I was a wreck. I remember, like, when we were going back to the car, I remember saying out loud, I was just like, ugh. Trying to keep my makeup intact. Okay. I remember saying, I feel so defeated right now. I literally said that. I was like, I feel so defeated right now. And in that moment, like, as I said it, that was the human part of me saying it. Like, that's how I felt. But it's like, I knew I would be letting the enemy win, in the sense of the enemy. This was already in my plan. Like, God knew this was going to happen. Like, I was born and this was already going to happen. Like, but of course, like, we know that the enemy wants us to like feel defeated and feel like sad. You know, he wants all the negative for us. So when I said I feel so defeated right now, I remember I was like, even though I'm like crying and everything, I immediately like reminded myself internally, like, no, Kayla, like, snap out of it. Like, no, you don't. You can't let him win. Okay? So, but I still let myself feel all those feelings, and like, I remember I had to call my manager because I was supposed to go to work. After that appointment, I was like, I have to go home. Like, I'm not good. So, went home, and I remember telling our family and everything, and of course they were still like, you know, they're so cute. They were just like, no, like, it's still possible, da 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 da, blah blah, let's just see what the doctor says, da 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 da. But in my mind, which they probably knew too, but in my mind I was just like, no, like, I know it's not like happening. And so oh, okay, so mind you, I was 10 weeks, but the gestational sac only grew up to 7 weeks, and then the embryo still was like even like smaller than that, like not even like developed like fully at all. Like, the cells didn't fully form or whatever. But I look at it as like, that was still my baby. Like, you know? And so, you know, people would say like, let me keep going. Okay, so, where was I at? Yeah, they were still, you know, being hopeful or whatever, like my family and everything. And then, but deep down inside, like, I knew what was going on. Oh, I was watching a show. I'm not saying the show and all that stuff because I'm not telling y'all the name yet. But anywho, so one of the people on the show had the same name as what the name we chose. So I was like, dang, okay, more reassurance. Like, the Lord was just giving us so much reassurance, and it's like he knew I was so sad, but he was still like, no, Kayla. Sorry, he was like, no, Kayla, like, look, remember this name? Like, I can't explain it, but he was giving me so much reassurance even after the second appointment. And the, sorry, my mind's like, it's not foggy, it's just like, wow, like, I'm putting myself back into, like, what happened, and it's, like, all coming to me. But, so I remember after I saw that name, I was like, wow, like, I remember smiling, whatever. Then I just happened to check my email, and I got an email from, or a message, like, we have, like, an online portal, and, like, my doctor can write me in the online portal. And this was like around 6 o'clock, and I opened it, and like the subject was miscarriage, or I think like something like that. But the message basically said like, hi Kayla, like, unfortunately, you know, it is a miscarriage, da, da, da. Like, she confirmed that it is a miscarriage. And I remember I was just like numb. And it's like she said what I already knew what was going on, but it was like confirmation, but it was like, dang. And this happened right after I saw the name again. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, God knew like this was happening, but he's reassuring me and like kind of like prepping me for like the worst to come, if that makes sense. And I remember, again, was crying, of course, and I called Quan and I let him know, like, yeah, she said it's a miscarriage. He was at work, but and I felt bad calling him while he was at work, but I mean, like, of course I'm gonna call him. So yeah, it was just a rough night. But she had me come in that next morning, because this was on a Tuesday, so I went in on a Wednesday to the appointment. I never knew nothing about this, so I knew she was gonna want to talk to me about like what happens next. So I go to the appointment Wednesday morning, and you know, she was just like, I'm so sorry, and just reminded me like how common this is. And she was like, Kayla, you could tell me that you smoked every day and that you just drank all day every day, and I would still tell you that none of this is your fault. Like, she was like, it just happens sometimes. And yeah, she just kept reminding me like, you did not do this, like, none of this is your fault. And I want to remind you, if you're going through this, you didn't cause this. Like, you didn't do this. None of this happened because of you. It's just what happened, but it has nothing to do with you. So she started going over the options with me, and the options were a DNC surgery, which she told me that I would have to be put to sleep. Mind you, she told me it's a miscarriage. So my body didn't even know. That's the reason why my body was still growing. Like, my belly was still growing, my bump, because my body didn't know that I wasn't pregnant. Like, it didn't detect that the baby wasn't alive. And so the DNC surgery, because she was like, if you were less than 6 weeks, I wouldn't recommend it. But she was like, any week over 6, I would recommend the surgery or whatever. And she told me like, you have to be put to sleep. I've never been put to sleep. Nothing, none of that. Anesthesia, none of that. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And then she was telling me about the pills, which are like 12 pills you would have to take, and that'll just like get the process started. And as she's talking to me, it's just like so much at once, and like I'm just like, I couldn't get over the fact that this was even like a conversation, that like this was even a thing. And so she was like, you do the pills, which helps get everything started and get your body to like get everything out, the surgery, or you can just wait. And she was like, now, as far as waiting, she was like, with that, I don't recommend, because she was like, your body still doesn't know, so we don't know how long it's going to take for your body to realize, like, there's no baby. And so, I was like, well, can I, because this was a Wednesday, but she already had me scheduled in for the surgery for that Friday, just in case I chose that. That way I can already be on the books. And I was like, okay, can I call you later to confirm? I need to talk to like my family or whatever. Because I told Quan he didn't need to come to the appointment with me. Like I was just like, I'll be okay. So I called my mom, I called Quan, I was talking to my sister, telling them everything. And they all thought it would be best for me to do the surgery because she was like, with the pills, it's a chance that everything may not come out. And she was telling me how she got one patient who did the pills, and I don't even want to get into that, but she was like, it's a chance it may not all come out, so the surgery would be a guarantee that everything could come out. So I was just like, okay. So they were all set on me doing the surgery. And plus like, it's a chance like I could lose a lot of blood with the pills and all this other stuff. And they were like, well, we don't want that happening. So I let the doctor know like I decided for the surgery for that Friday. Mind you, this is Wednesday. Sorry that this is a long video. Okay, so really quickly, I just want to let you know like things are about to get a little bit more graphic and I get a little bit more detailed. So just be cautious if you're going to continue watching. And trigger warning again, like I don't want to like hurt someone in any way or anything like that. So just be cautious if you're going to continue watching. So I fell asleep early. And then I remember waking up at like 10 p.m. Because I had to go use the bathroom. I just had to like pee. And so I went to go to the bathroom. And when I sat in the toilet and I pulled down my pants, I looked down and all I see is like blood. Just like blood in my underwear. Bright blood. And I was just like, I remember I like froze and I became so numb. Because for one, I wasn't expecting it. Two, I was like, wow, I don't have to have the surgery. Like, it was so much at once. And I remember I felt like I was about to faint. Literally, after I saw the blood, I was about to faint, pass out while I was on the toilet. I even called Quan in because I really thought I was about to pass out. I just got so weak and sorry, I'm so sorry. This is gross. I feel like if I have a booger, I'm sorry. But yeah, I just remember like I was about to like pass out while I was sitting on the toilet. It was just so much at once. Part of me was like happy in the sense of like I didn't have to have the surgery because I didn't want to do the surgery. Like I didn't want to do the surgery. And then I was just in shock. It just caught me off guard. So clean myself up, blah, blah, blah. So I just remember I went and wrote my doctor. Mine is at 10 o'clock and I wrote it on the portal. I messaged her and I was like, hi, I just went to the bathroom and I saw a lot of blood, blah, blah, basically asking her like, do I still have to do the surgery? And so she wrote me back at like 6 in the morning and she was like, she's like, okay, so it's good that your body started it on its own. So she goes, between now, because now this is Thursday, she was like, between now and tomorrow, if everything comes out, we don't have to do the surgery. So I was like, okay. So that whole day I was just like, you know, all right. But here's the thing. Ever since I saw that blood, like I wasn't able to go to the bathroom with the light on. I would go to the bathroom with the light off because I didn't want to see anything. Like I didn't want to see anything. And so, and I wouldn't look in the toilet. Like I just would not look. But I would like glimpse, because I had on a pad, I would glimpse at my pad to see if it like filled up or anything. Anywho, so that Thursday, I remember like I was cramping as if I was having period cramps. And they were just like annoying, like, you know, cramps or whatever. Nothing really excruciating, but just as if you're having period cramps. And so I remember like I would think that a lot has come out on the pad, but I would remember I would check and it would be like not a lot of blood at all, like on the pad. And I would be like, dang, like you know, but I would be cramping and stuff. So it's like I knew my body was doing it, but I was like, okay, so where's all this blood that she's talking about? And everyone's different. I'm sure everyone's story of how they miscarry is different, but this is just what happened with me. I was just cramping all that day. So then Friday comes, and I wrote her at like 6 in the morning. I'm like, hey, still bleeding. I don't know if everything has come out, but I'm still like bleeding and cramping and everything. And she was like, okay, well, because the surgery is supposed to be that day, that Friday. She was like, okay, so I put a prescription in for you to take the pills. And she goes, I know there's 12 pills in the pack, but she was like, you only need 1 or 2. And that should help, because my body already started it, but she wanted it to like speed up. So I didn't have to do the surgery. I was so happy I didn't have to do the surgery. So I went to pick up the pills, and I remember I was like, okay, she said 2, and I was just like, I'm not taking all these. Of course, like I was happy I didn't have to take all of them. I was just so blessed that that's another thing. The fact that my body, earlier that day, 12 hours before, my doctor told me that my body, I'm having a miscarriage because my body hasn't detected that there's no baby. And I remember I chose to do the surgery. I didn't want to do it. The Lord knew I didn't want to do the surgery. So the fact that my body started it on its own and I didn't have to do the surgery, like, whew, thank you, Jesus. Like, I was like, wow. So I remember I took 1 pill, and I remember the cramps were getting like more intense, but it still wasn't like, you know, painful period cramps, but it wasn't like excruciating. I've never had excruciating like period cramps. So I know there's some people who do, so you might be like, no. But it was just like, just annoying cramping. And I just remember I just wanted to lay down all day. I had the heating pad and everything. Anyways, so I took 1 pill, and this was like at 4 o'clock on a Friday I took it. And then still like throughout the night, like it wasn't like any crazy amount of like blood. It was just like, you know, a little bit on the pad or something like that. So then next day, Saturday, still same thing, cramping, annoying, bleeding, but not like nothing crazy. So now let's fast forward to Saturday night. I remember Quan had went out with his friends, and I was like, go ahead, like you're good, I'm good, just go ahead. He came home like around like 1 o'clock in the morning, and no, probably like 12 o'clock, 12:30, he came home. And I remember like whenever he comes home, like he'll come in and let me know he's home. And so I was in my apartment at this time, and I remember I just woke up because like the cramps were like more annoying, like they were getting more intense. And then I remember there was this one point, this is like 1:30. The level of pain literally was just like rising. So it was like I woke up and I was like, oh, crampy. Ooh, ooh, ow, 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 ow. So it was just literally just gradually increased really quick in the same minute. So I remember I was just like crying because I'm like, this is so painful. And I went out into the living room, and I remember he was on the game, and he saw that I was like crying and stuff, so he like put the game down or whatever, and he was like, I was like, I'm cramping. I was like, it hurts so bad. Like I was like, now I know it was contractions, like my body was literally contracting, but it was so painful, y'all. It was so painful. And I remember like, it was this couch, because this couch was in the living room. So I remember I was standing, leaning on the edge of the couch, just like hunched over, and I was just like crying because I couldn't stand up straight. I could not stand up straight. The pain was so bad. Literally, I can't even describe it. It was just very intense. In the moment, I didn't know it was contractions. Now I know it was contractions. Is my camera overheating? Let me hurry up. So, I just remember I was just crying. It was so much pain, so much pain. and I couldn't even like stand up straight. But here's the thing, I also felt really gassy. TMI, I also felt really gassy. And so it was a mix of like really, 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 really horrible cramps mixed in with like gas, as if I have to like use the bathroom. And I had Chipotle earlier that day. It was just a hot mess. And so it got to the point where I was able to like walk. Quan walked me to the bathroom, and I remember I just sat on the toilet crying, like hunched over in so much pain. This is where it gets really TMI, I'm sorry, but I'm like using the bathroom and also like experiencing the horrible cramps. And so I was on the toilet for like a minute, like not literally a minute, like a long time. And then I remember like I calmed down and I was able to get myself together and clean myself up. And then I went to, oh, and it was a lot of blood also. I didn't look, I just know. And so, because my thing is I didn't want to see any like clots or I didn't want to see anything. And so I walked back to the room, and I remember Quan came in and he was like laying down with me and, you know, just like rubbing me, holding me or whatever. And I remember the pain started to like gradually come down. And then I started noticing, this is when I started noticing it was contractions. When I would be like talking, I'll be able to talk to him, and then in 2 minutes, I'm like, oh my gosh, like da 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 da, like it hurts, blah blah blah. And then that lasted for like a minute, and then the pain would just go away. And then it would come back, and when it would come back, it slowly comes up. Not slowly, quickly, but you can literally, as if it's a scale, you can literally feel the pain scale just rising. And then it would be like that peak, and then it would come down. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm contracting. And so this lasted, after I used the bathroom, I was on the bed, probably like 15 minutes this was going on. And then I remember we were just talking, Quan fell asleep, I fell asleep, and I just remember like the pain stopped, and I just remember like we both just fell asleep on the bed like that. We weren't even on the covers, we were just laid across the bed and we just fell asleep. And then I remember the next morning I woke up and I was like happy, because I'm like, okay, like that was the worst. Like I went through the worst part. And I remember I called my mom. I was on my way to Dunkin' Donuts. I was still cramping slightly, but it was like just the normal, like very mild, like period cramps. And so I remember I called my mom and I was telling her all about it. Like I was like, Mom, that was the worst thing I've ever felt in my life. The worst pain. And she was like, wow, like dang, like, you know, blah blah. Anyways, so I go home, I'm still cramping throughout the day. Now it's like 4 o'clock and it happens again. It just gradually gets higher, and it's just like that peak, and that lasted for a good 20 minutes or so. And I remember Quan was outside and I called him. I was like, it's happening again. He was like, you need me to come inside? I was like, no, because in my mind, I remember I kept saying like, I don't know what I would have done if Quan wasn't there the first time, like that Saturday. I was like, I don't know what I would have done if he wasn't there. And then I remember like just reminding myself like, I'm gonna call on Jesus. Like this is what I'm gonna do. So I told him, I was like, no, you don't need to come inside. So I remember just praying like, Lord, please be with me, like take the pain away, like I know you're with me. And I just imagined like the Lord just rocking me, like I was curled up on the bed and I was just like praying through it, praying through the pain. And Saturday the pain was easily a 10 out of 10. This time it was like a good, it was probably like a 7, 8 out of 10, the pain. But yeah, it was nothing compared to Saturday, but it was still really, really painful. And so I was like, dang, like I thought it was over, but it didn't last as long as it did the first time. And then after it was done, like I didn't feel nothing for the rest of the night. And still when I went to the bathroom, it still wasn't like, I know I didn't pass the sack, is what I'm trying to say. But I was just like, dang, like, please don't, I don't want this to happen again. Like, please, Lord Jesus, like, I do not want to go through that again. So I remember I was happy because I didn't feel any like cramps or anything for the rest of Sunday night. And then Monday I woke up and I had a doctor's appointment because the doctor wanted to follow up with me, you know, to make sure everything came out and everything. So I woke up that morning getting ready for my appointment, and I remember I went to the bathroom and, you know, to do like my morning pee. That sounds so like, I'm sorry, to urinate. And I remember I just felt like a plop, like it was just like that. And like as soon as I like sat down in the toilet before like I even started to like use the bathroom, it's like I just, you know how like when you sit in the toilet, like you literally relax your muscles. I just sat and then it just came out. And I was like, wow, it happened. Like, that's the sack. And mind you, I was still going to the bathroom with the lights off. And I remember like, was like, before I flushed, I was like peeking and I could see like a, mind you it was dark, but I could see like a just like a dark, big clot. And it was probably like that big or something. But I won't ever forget that feeling of feeling it coming out. But I remember I was just so relieved. I was like, wow, like, cause it literally genuinely felt like closure. Like it felt like closure. Like the week before I already knew, well, I already knew what was happening 6 days before. So the fact that like it all happened, I was just like thank you. Like now I can start the process of like moving forward. Because it's one thing to like know that your baby's not alive in your belly and then having to go through the miscarriage. It was just like once the sac was out, I was like, okay, all right, thank you. So I went to the doctor and I was still wearing a pad because I didn't, you know, I was assuming that I was still going to be bleeding because she was saying it's possible that you can still be bleeding, you know, for the next 2 weeks or whatever. So I went there and when she checked me, she was like, oh, and even when I like pulled my pants down, because I put in another pad, there was like no blood on the pad. And she like checked me or whatever and she was like, wow, like I'm impressed. She was like, because I was expecting to see like a lot more blood, but she was like, no, I don't see anything. She was like, I don't see anything. And so she was like, just again reassuring me and just telling me she's proud of me and all this other stuff. So yeah, that was my story. That was my story. Now here's the thing. When I tell you God is so amazing, he's so like, he really does care. So this is how I view it. He knew that I was gonna miscarry, obviously. He knows I'm gonna go through this horrible, like painful thing. But the fact that he was still giving me reassurance of a baby and like the name and everything. Here's another thing. When we told his parents our name choices, his mom, or when we first told his mom that we're pregnant, I remember she was, because only me and Quan had discussed the names or whatever. So I remember she's like crying and jumping and like so excited or whatever. And she was like, I saw a baby name. This, mind you, this is when we first told her that we're pregnant. She was like, I saw a baby name last week and I was gonna text you, but I didn't want you to think I was crazy, because she didn't know I was pregnant or anything. She was like, I just thought it was so cute and I was gonna text it to you, but I didn't want you to think like I was crazy or anything. And we were like, what was it? And she said the exact name that we chose. So we were like, oh my goodness, like wow, like that's the name. And then it's like, okay, so now that's the name whether it's a boy or a girl. Because at first it was just the name if it was a boy. And we were like, no, that's the name for either or, like it's set. It was like, yeah. So it was that. And then when I saw the night of the first appointment, when I saw the Instagram story and I happened to click the girl's profile with the same name and baby shower idea, that was my second reassurance. I just realized he works in, like it's a third one. He works in threes. Before I got the email of my doctor confirming that it's a miscarriage, and I saw the name on the show, the person who had the name on the show, that was my third confirmation. And it's like God was confirming me all these things. He was confirming me or giving me confirmation knowing that I was going to miscarry. So it was kind of like when I realized like I was miscarrying, I'm like, well, there's no reason that God would just be showing me this name consistently for no reason, just for no reason. Like, I know there's a reason for all this. He had a plan, like this was part of the plan. So that is what like stuck in my head as I was going through the miscarriage. And I'm just like so grateful. Like, he's just so caring. Like, he's like, look, Kayla, you're gonna have the miscarriage, but I just want to remind you, like, I'm here, I hear you. That name you and Con were discussing, I'm gonna give you 1, 2, 3 confirmations that you're gonna have that baby with that name. And so that's what I wanted to say. And then so to actually like, so this happened 2 weeks before I went on my Florida vacation. And if you look at a few videos back, you see some vlogs of us like on vacation with my family. Nobody knew at the time, but just a week and a half before I was miscarrying. But yeah, I went through a lot of moments where it would be like, I really thought I was okay, but I wasn't. And I remember I had a moment on the trip where I just broke down. I remember I was just sobbing in the shower. And then when I came out, I was still sobbing to my sister. And I was just like, I'm okay, I'm okay. She's like, Kayla, no, you're not okay. And she's like, it's okay that you're not okay. And I just remember I was just like so sad. And it would just, you know, grief. If you've ever lost a loved one, I was familiar with grief because the year before I lost, I don't like saying, that's another thing. I don't like saying like sorry for your loss. Like, I don't want to remind someone like, oh, it's a loss. Like, no. My grandma passed away. Not passed away. Grandma went to heaven. And that was the first time I've experienced like grief. And so if you know anything about grief, like it's just up and down. Like one day you're okay, the next day you're not. One day you're mad, one day you're sad, one day you're happy. It's just a whole bunch of, it's just a lot. And I'm still grieving to this day. Like, I'll think about my baby and I'm just like, ugh, like, you know, I don't know, it's weird. Grief is weird. Now, yes, I am pregnant with this baby. Now, I wanted to touch a little bit on pregnancy after loss. This is a really long video and I'm sorry, but I just wanted to touch on pregnancy after loss because that comes with anxiety. But again, prayer, literally prayer, gets me through it every day. I'm 23 weeks. Let me show you my thumb. Oh, can you even see? Some days, I haven't really eaten much today yet, so it's not as big, but if you follow me on like Instagram and like TikTok and stuff, you can see a better update of my bump. I have a highlight on my Instagram story, no, on my Instagram page for baby, and you'll be able to see like my updated bump. I don't know if you can really tell on camera, but so yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Every day I have to remind myself like this is a blessing, like, and when I say it comes with anxiety, of course, like in the first trimester, sorry, I'm really hungry, so I'm gonna wrap this up soon, but of course in the first trimester you're like even more like, ugh, you know, and when I got past the 7th week mark and the 10-week mark, because you know I miscarried at 10 weeks, I was just like, ugh, you know, it was just such a blessing. I was like, we did it, we made it, and just feeling my baby move really gives me a piece of like joy. And also like, now you know how they have, I actually have it with me. So I have a fetal Doppler, which was a gift from one of Quan's really good friends, best friend or whatever. and they gave this to us, and we got this one in my second trimester. I'm still in my second trimester, almost done. I don't know when it ends, but I know it's like not that many more weeks to go until I'm in my third. But I wouldn't really recommend getting one of these in your first trimester. Or actually, you could. Basically, you can hear the heartbeat. And before I started feeling like the kicks and like the movement full on, I would use this. And like some days you may feel the baby move more than others, you know, it's all different. But I just really want to say, as far as pregnancy after loss, what has helped me and what gets me through it is God, and just remembering His promise, and just knowing that there's a reason and a plan for everything. And I'm just so grateful. Just gratitude. I just prayed, I thank Him, and I try my best to not let what happened last summer to dictate like how I'm going on with this pregnancy. Because like, yes, I went through that. My baby's an angel, my baby's in heaven. But now I have this baby who's earthside with me to put my energy and love and attention to. And I want to be in the best mindset possible. So it's all about your mindset, and just, you know, you can't let fear dictate your pregnancy. Pregnancy is so beautiful. It's literally amazing. It's a miracle. Pregnancy is a miracle. And the fact that like my baby's still growing and developing and everything, this is a miracle. Like, baby, I'm proud of you. And your baby is relying on your body to help develop it. So I have to be in a good mind space. I have to do good with my body. Like, I just have to, because it's hosting a home for my baby, and I love my baby so much. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. Like, every day it does get better. Like, even if right now you feel like your world is crumbling down, or if you feel defeated, don't let the enemy win, and just trust God and know that He has a plan for everything. We weren't meant to have our baby when it was last summer. We weren't meant to. But God said, hold your horses. I'm working on something. I don't like to question Him. So yes, that's what I can say to you, is just trust the Lord, and just know that there's a reason for everything, and you're going to get your rainbow baby. You're going to get your rainbow baby. So I love you. I hope this video helped you somehow, inspired you in some way, something like that. I don't know. But I love you, and I wish you all the happiness, and I send so much baby dust, and my DMs are open. I'm an open book. So if you want to message me anything, if you have questions, if there's anything about miscarriage that I didn't mention, or anything, just DM me on Instagram, or even comment, and I got you. Like, I love you, and I'm so sorry that this is something you're going through, if you're going through it, or that you have gone through it. I'm so sorry, because I literally wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But just know that there's so many people watching that has gone through, is experiencing what we have went through. So yes, keep your head up, okay? Trust God, and just know there's always a reason for everything. But I love you. Make sure to like, thumbs up this video if you want to, and to subscribe, because I'd love for you to. And to follow me on my social media accounts. Everything's listed down below. But more baby content's coming. I know it's been a minute since I filmed last time, but I try not to force myself. If I don't feel like it, I'm not going to. But it's really, I think I low-key was like anticipating this video. So now that I got this video out, I can like, because I still want to do my first trimester update, which I have to do soon because I'm almost at my second. But yeah, I write down everything, and yeah, I have a lot to share. So blessings to you in 2022. And if it's not 2022 and it's like 2028 and you're watching this video, God bless you. And I love you. And yes.